This lesson is going to be on learning all the notes on the guitar. It's really useful to be able to name all the notes on the guitar, mainly because in the guitar we talk about something called root notes. So for example, if you know this chord here, it's a G chord. This chord here, it's a D chord. This chord here, it's a D6. This chord here is an A minor 7. Now the reason those chords get their name, they get the first part of their name from the first note that you strike. So in this chord, the first note I'm striking is a G note. In this chord here, the first note I'm striking is a C. And also with scales, if you're playing an A major scale, the first note you strike is an A. Okay, so it's important to know whereabouts you are on the guitar. It's something that that I don't think you should spend a little bit of time, maybe every day, practicing the names of the notes. So I'm going to give you some tips and some easy ways to remember it. So what's important is not to learn all the notes off by heart. What you want to be in the position to be able to do is to work out a note if you need to know it. Say for example, somebody asks you, what's the name of that note there? Right now you wouldn't know, and I know just because of habit, but if I didn't know, it's not important that I don't know. What's important is to have the knowledge and understanding to be able to work out what that note is. So if somebody asks you, say, I don't know, but I can work it out. So that's where I want to leave you after this lesson, in the position where you don't know all the notes, but if you want to work them out, then you can do that. So what we need is we need a starting point. So the starting point is the open string. What are the names of the strings open? Okay, so that's an E. So those are both E's. The thinnest string and the thickest string are both E's. Okay, so it's E, B, G, D, A, E. E, B, G, D, A, E. Those are the names of the strings. So how I remember that is, it's made up or my guitar teacher made up an acronym for it, and the acronym was Easter Bunnies Get Drunk at Easter. So if somebody asks you the name of that note there, your first port of call is to work out what string it's on. So it's on the Easter Bunnies Get Drunk at, it's on the A string. So from there, what you need is a system to work out the name of the note. So to work out that one, we start at the open string and then we work our way along. So I know that that's an A note, I know that that's a C note, that's a D note, so that one there is an E note. So now I'm going to teach you how to work that out. So on the guitar we've got the musical alphabet, which runs from A back to A. So it's A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and back to A. Now in the musical alphabet we've got something called sharps. So a sharp, every note has a sharp. So you've got A sharp, you've got G sharp, and you've got D sharp. I said every note's got a sharp. Not every note's got a sharp, sorry. Every note's got a sharp apart from two of them. So what you need to do is remember the two of them, the two important notes, and they don't have sharps. So when you're counting the musical alphabet, it's A sharp, B. So it just works like that, A sharp, B, and then it would be B sharp, C, C sharp, D. So every note has a sharp, as I said, apart from two. And the two are E and B. So how I remember that is Easter Bunnies, the first two strings, Easter Bunnies don't have sharps. So every time you come to an E note or a B note, it doesn't have a sharp. Okay, so we're going to start on the G string. So say for example I asked you the name of that note there. You wouldn't know, but you'd be able to tell me that it's on the Easter Bunnies Get. So it's on the G string. So the first note is a G, So if you move up one, I'm doing here, it's a G sharp. If you move to there, it becomes an A, then it becomes an A sharp, and then a B. Now if you remember Easter bunnies, B doesn't have a sharp, so B jumps straight to C. Now C's got a sharp, there's C sharp, and after C sharp it's D. So that note there is a D note. So it's all about getting the system right and getting the system in place so that you don't know all the notes but you can work them all out. So you start off, what string is the note on? So if it's on the G string, you start on G. G, G sharp, A sharp, B. B doesn't have a sharp, straight to C, C, C sharp, D. So if I asked you the name of that note there, which is in the 4th fret on the 3rd string, it would be G, G sharp, A sharp, B. Okay, so that's the system. You just work out what string the note's on. So if it's there, it would be E. E doesn't have a sharp, so that's F. That's F sharp, that's G sharp, that's A. So the note we're looking for is A. So from the home, I tend to call the nut home. An open string is home. So that's where you start off. You start off on the open string. One thing I just want to touch on just now is that we also have something called flats and sharps. So in the guitar, for example, we've got this note here. Okay. So that note there is called a G. It's the 3rd fret, so it's open, which is E, F, because E doesn't have a sharp. That's F sharp, and that's G. So that note there is G. So that note there, which comes between G and F, G, it could either be a G flat. When we move it down a fret, it becomes flat. So that could be a G flat, or it could be an F sharp. Okay, so that's a little bit confusing. Flats and sharps. So a flat is just a different way to express a sharp. So you've got the note G. So the note between G and the note between F and G can either be an F, which has been sharpened, which has moved up a fret, or a G, which has been flattened, which has moved down a fret. So that's the difference between flats and sharps. So the note in between a G note and an A note would either be a G sharp or an A flat. Okay, so to work out, just to recap, to work out all the notes in the guitar, what you need to be able to do is have a starting point, which is the name of the open string that the note is on. So if you're looking for that note there, it's on the A string, you're looking for that one. It's on the G string, you're looking for that one. It's on the E, and then you go back here and you use your formula, and your formula is just every note has a sharp apart from E and B, so you just count your way along and you work out the note. So after you've done that, after a little bit of time, you should just remember the notes. You should remember that one's a C because of that chord being a C, that one's a G because that note's a G. So just spend a little bit of time learning notes, but what I would suggest you do is you learn, I learn sort of road markers, I call them, on the guitar. So I know that note there's a G, I know that note's an A, and that one's a B. So G, A, B, and that's on the thickest string, and I know that note there, C, D, E. So G, A, B, C, D, E. So I've learned them off by heart, so I know those notes. So now if somebody asks me to play a C sharp, I know, well, that's a C, so I'll move it up one, it becomes a C sharp. If somebody asks me to play a D, I know that's a C, so that would be a D. So it's a good idea to get little road markers. So your first road marker is the name of the open string, so that's important to learn. But after that, have road markers along the guitar. So say for example somebody asked you the name of that note. It would take a while for you to count all the way up, but if you've got road markers and you're asked that note there, I would think, right, that's G, that's E, that's B. I'm looking for that one there, so that's B. B doesn't have a sharp, so that's C. So that note there is C sharp. So that's how you work it out. And if somebody asked you the name of that note there, and you knew that note there, which is at the 3rd fret, you wouldn't go all the way back to the start. You'd start there and work your way along. So that's a C, that's a C sharp, that's a D, that's a D sharp, and that's an E. Okay, so once you've learned a few notes on the guitar, it gives you reference points and you're trying to work out other notes from those notes. First reference point, as I said, are the open strings. The things to remember in this lesson are that E and B, the first two strings, Easter bunnies, don't have sharps. So when you're trying to work out a note on the guitar, you just start with the open string, work your way along until you come to the note that you're looking to find its name. And you just work your way along. Every note has a sharp apart from E and B. So when you come to E and B, it just jumps to the next one. So E jumps straight to C and E jumps straight to F. So this lesson was on learning all the notes on the guitar. It's a process that will take you a while. The longer you've been doing it and the more work you do on it, the better you get at it. It's really useful for some things, but it's not too important to be able to name the notes off by heart. What's more important is to be able to work them out as and when you need to. So just take your time at the start, and the more often you do it, you'll get better. And try and have road markers on the guitar. Something else that I should mention is that the guitar has markers on the top at the 3rd, the 5th, the 7th and the 12th fret. So those are good places to sort of learn the notes, the 3rd, the 5th, the 7th. That's what I've taught you today on the two strings. So one more thing that I want to touch on is something called an octave. And an octave is the same note in a different place. So how we find an octave on the guitar is, if I wanted to find an octave of that note there, which I'll tell you is a G note, how you work it out is you go along 2 frets and then down 2 strings. So along 2 frets and down 2 strings. Okay, so that note there is a G, so is that one there. That note there is an F, so is that one. So you go along 2 frets and down 2 strings. So that note there is a G. So if somebody asks me the name of that note, I automatically think about that note, because I know that one's a G, so it's a shape. You try and think about it in shapes. So you've got G there, A there, A there. So once you've learned this shape, once you've learned all the notes on the thickest string and the second thickest string, you just go along 2 and you find the octave. So if somebody asked me that note there, I would think, well, that's an octave of that one. So the octave is really important. It goes along 2 frets and down 2 strings. And with everything in the guitars, a couple of exceptions. Actually here there's only one exception. And the exception here is with the octave, every time you encounter the B string, which is the second string, you need to go along an extra fret. So here it's along 2 frets, and those 2 notes are the octave. But every time you encounter the B string, you need to go along another fret. So there, down, so I've encountered the B string along one more and down. So that note there, those notes are octaves. So octaves are, the rules to remember, you go along 2 frets and down 2 strings and you find the same note. Unless you touch the B string, and every time you encounter the B string you have to go along one more fret. So you go along 3 frets and down 2 strings. So on that string there, you've got the octave there. Here, you've got the octave there. So here, along 2 frets, down, I've touched the B string, so I need to go along another one, and then down. Okay, so those are the rules to remember. So hopefully that lesson, after doing a little bit of work, you should be able to name all the notes on the guitar.